In this video, we're going to talk about one of North America's most recognizable and, well, famously fragrant animals. Now, I know what you're thinking, that powerful spray, right? But believe me, there's so much more to the story of the skunk. We're going to explore where they live, how they raise a family, and yeah, we'll definitely uncover the truth behind that ultimate defensive weapon. So let's get started. Alright, first things first, let's get properly introduced to this very distinctive creature. So, what exactly is a skunk? Well, you might be surprised to learn they aren't actually related to polecats. Nope. They belong to their own unique family, which scientists call Nephitidae. And get this, their closest living relatives are actually the old world stink badgers. You can't make this stuff up. And you can find these super adaptable animals across 2 whole continents. They're native to both North and South America, and they thrive in all kinds of environments, from southern Canada all the way down to the United States, Mexico, and even into Central and South America. And because they're such great survivors, the population is really stable, so they're considered a species of least concern. Okay, so now that we know where they live, let's take a closer look at their daily lives and where they actually call home. When it comes to food, skunks are not picky eaters at all. They're true omnivores, and their diet completely changes with the seasons, which makes them incredible survivors. I mean, just look at the sheer variety here, everything from insects and rodents to berries and nuts. And here's a wild fact. They're one of the few primary predators of honeybees, all things to a thick fur protecting them. As for their homes, they're pretty skilled excavators, and they really value security. They'll often dig their own dens, but they're not above moving into an abandoned burrow from another animal. And these aren't just simple holes either. They often have multiple rooms and several entrances, for a quick getaway. So, we know they're clever survivalists, but what about their social lives? There's this common myth about social animals having an alpha who's always fighting for control. But for skunks, the reality is much more like a typical family. There isn't some constant struggle for dominance. A skunk pack in the wild is really just a family, with the parents guiding their young. Now, they're typically solitary animals, but they will seek each other out in early spring to mate. After that, a mother skunk will usually give birth to a litter of 4 to 7 little babies, which are called kits. And these kits will stick with their mother for about a year just to learn the ropes. In the wild, where life is pretty tough, a skunk's life is relatively short, with maximum lifespan of about 7 years. Generally, skunks are solitary creatures, but they aren't always alone. During really harsh weather, they might even share a den with raccoons or woodchucks just to stay warm. Their main predator is a bit of a surprise. It's the great horned owl. See, most predators are put off by the spray, but the great horned owl has a very poor sense of smell, which makes it a formidable foe. Coyotes and dogs are more like frenemies. They might attack, but they usually learn their lesson very, very quickly. Which brings us to their most famous feature, the one that keeps most of those predators far, far away. Here's the thing, a skunk really doesn't want to use its spray, so it gets plenty of warning first. This is their defensive strategy in a nutshell. They'll stomp their feet, they'll hiss, and then they'll raise that tail high as a final warning before they resort to that famous spray. But when they do spray, it is incredibly effective. They have 2 glands that allow them to hit a target with surprising accuracy from up to 3 meters away. And that powerful scent, which is made of these sulfur-containing chemicals called phylls, can travel an absolutely astonishing distance on the wind. A human nose can detect it from over 5.5 kilometers away. That is just incredible. Alright, now let's wrap up with some quick, surprising facts you might not know. Here are 5 fascinating tidbits that make skunks even more interesting. First off, their iconic stripes are visible from the moment they're born. Second, they have terrible eyesight, which unfortunately explains why they're so often hit by cars. Third, that sick fur we mentioned, it isn't just for warmth, it also protects them from bee stings. Fourth, they have a limited supply of that spray, only enough for about 5 or 6 uses, and it takes a full 10 days to recharge. And finally, the name skunt actually comes from an Algonquian word that loosely translates to urinating fox. Kinda makes sense, right? So the next time you see that unmistakable black and white waddle, you'll know you're looking at a highly adaptable, family-oriented survivalist, with a lot more going on than just a famous defense. Alright, that is it this video, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.